And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Week 10 of the NFL and fantasy seasons. I'm John, along with Sean here at Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports, getting you ready for the fantasy football games today. Make sure you get your lineups in here at 1 o'clock, before 1 o'clock. Sean, how are you today?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Good. Let me bring the schedule up and see. We had Baltimore and Miami on Thursday night. In our live stream, we were all projecting Baltimore to win that game pretty easily, and Miami actually won the game fairly easily. So before we take a little bit deeper look into that, any other games you're actually looking forward to today?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see now with the Detroit-Pittsburgh game, how Pittsburgh plays with Mason Rudolph at quarterback over Roethlisberger being out with COVID now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Some good matchups here today. During the 1 o'clock games, I do like the Browns at the Patriots. I think that could be a good matchup. New Orleans at Tennessee. I know Julio Jones is out on the IR again. But then the 4 o'clock games, we got Minnesota going to LA and Seattle going into snowy Green Bay. What do you think about any of those games?
If you got Seattle or Green Bay's defense, I mean, you might get some good points today, possibly with some turnovers and minimum points possibly scored.
Yeah, hello. Great day to be alive and watch some football. I have a huge fantasy dilemma. Please help. SOS. Amari Cooper or Godwin? And should I pick one of them over Javonte Williams in the flex? Sean, let me look at the stats. Payo time, if you're still here. I sent you a DM on Twitter if you wanted to check that out. Let me pull up. Who do we have here? Cooper or Godwin?
I would go with Cooper probably. Godwin, I know, is still questionable to play. I know he's been injured, and they said he was questionable to play, but I'm sure he'll probably still suit up. But I think that if he's not hopefully 100%, you probably could see Mike Evans get more of the targets today against Washington's defense.
Yeah, let me Cooper. I'm going to highlight Cooper Kupp, of course. But Amari Cooper, we have projected at 15.9 points, 5 to 6 catches, 70-plus yards, 60% chance at a touchdown, going up against Atlanta, who's 15th against fantasy wide receivers. And he's averaging 15.4 points a game, so we have him just about his average. Godwin's questionable, you said?
Yeah, he was questionable the last I saw as of about a half hour ago still.
So keep looking at that. But if Godwin does play, I actually have him projected at 16.7 points. About the same amount of catches, but a little bit more yardage and only 50% chance at a touchdown. He is 9th on the year, going up against the 32nd ranked fantasy defense. So I don't know. That's if health isn't an issue, is it definitely Godwin?
Yeah, if health isn't an issue, Godwin for sure. But then again, Cooper could get a handful of catches because he's due for a big game. He hasn't had one of those in a little while.
Yeah, and then he's got Javonte Williams. Should have used Javonte Williams as a flex going up against the Philadelphia's 26th against fantasy running backs. He's 24th on the year. We have him just about getting his average points. He averages 10.2. He's at 10.3 right now. He's still splitting carries there in Denver. So should Payo be using Williams over Cooper or Godwin?
No, I would I would put in order Godwin if he's fully healthy and ready to go, Cooper, and then Williams for sure.
Payo is just saying Godwin is expected to play.
Yeah, then I'd go Godwin for sure because he's playing against a Washington defense that could give up a lot of points.
So if he's doing that, it says, should I pick one of them over Williams in the flex? So should he put Cooper in over Williams for the flex then?
Yeah, I would say because Atlanta, I mean, doesn't play lockdown defense, but their number one cornerback is going to go up against CD Lamb over Cooper, so Cooper probably will get more targets because I know the number one cornerback in Atlanta, I think this year he's averaging only giving up like 40 yards a game. So he's pretty good on lockdown defense for sure. So I would say you probably got a better chance of Cooper getting a bigger game today than he has previously.
Yeah, absolutely. So Peo, thanks for the questions. Take a look at that DM if you get a chance. Let's go back to the schedule here. Tonight we have I gotta do something better here so I can see the schedule. Tonight we have Kansas City going to Vegas. What do you think of that matchup, Sean?
Well, I know Vegas always beats Kansas City at least once a year, so could be this matchup because Vegas always plays great on primetime games in the past few years. That when they have a primetime game, they always seem to go overboard and they make sure they go out and win it. I mean, week 1, they went and beat Baltimore at home, so it could be having a chance that that's what happens, but I think Kansas City, I mean, they've been playing pretty good lately. So I think that you see Kansas City play what they've been playing at a high optimism. They've been getting better each week. So if Mahomes can keep the turnover down, I think that Kansas City could honestly run away with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I could see that too. I do like the way actually Vegas is. They lost to the Giants, but I thought they played well after Gruden. They've played pretty well after Gruden left. So I don't know if there was just a team distraction going on there, if they just didn't like him, or what the deal was going on in there.
Yeah, I mean, once they heard about the emails and all that, it kind of started raising some questions and the players, and then you had them play good with that, and then they had the whole Henry Ruggs situation, and then that went by, and then they ended up having one of their cornerbacks post some stupid video on social media to try to be a hero for some reason. And I think since all that has kind of passed by and gone about, they've slowly began play normal football again. I mean, they've gone 5 days without an incident. So, I mean, that's a new high for Vegas this year, I think.
Yeah. One of the other games I was kind of looking forward to, but with some injuries now, we got the Saints going into Tennessee. But Alvin Kamara is out, and now Julio Jones is back on the IR. What do you think of this matchup here?
I think it's actually becoming a better game now. Just for the fact of the aspect of you got two old school running backs going at it. Ingram, I think he's only a handful of yards away from being the all-time Saints rusher for the full-time for the year for their career in New Orleans. So I think he'll be able to break that record today. And you got Adrian Peterson, who by far is probably a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer. And I think last week he scored his 125th career touchdown. So he's only going to keep going. And I know he said that he could play. He said he wanted to play another 3 to 4 years because he wanted, I think he said, play until he's about 40 and try to get up there to get that all-time rushing record, which I think if he plays on a team that he can at least get, close to 1,000 yards a season, he has the possibility to get that, I think.
Yeah. Let's see here. Is in the Tennessee game, is A.J. Brown still playing?
Yeah,
I have not kept up to date with any injuries.
Yeah, he is the only wide receiver left standing that Tannehill has started the season with. Julio is Julio of old, glass bones. I mean, Atlanta definitely won that trade. They got what they wanted. They got rid of him. They got rid of his contract, his injury prones, and they've honestly improved their team by doing that trade, I think, because all the people that they brought in, I mean, have only done better for the team. Cordell Patterson, they brought him in as free agency on a 1-year deal, and he's a Swiss Army knife. He does punt, kick, rush, receive. I mean, you probably could even see him throw the ball if he needed to, even.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I loved him in Minnesota, and I wish he never would have left because the guy is just he's an all-star. He's an all-star player, and he does everything right.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Payo Time coming in again saying, what are your guys' thoughts on OBJ to the Rams now that Woods is out for the year? Rest of season, would you rather have Odell or Van Jefferson?
Van Jefferson.
Yeah, I agree. I know you said something before we went live about OBJ is just going to be available for punt returns. Is that right?
Yeah, they're only planning on using him for punt returns, so Van Jefferson is going to be getting used a lot, I think. You're going to see him be used more for sure. So I would say I wouldn't use OBJ in any lineups this week. I'd wait and see how he plays. I think after you see him play a game or two, I think then you'll be able to see. But I mean, until he's fully healthy, I wouldn't trust him yet. When he signed with LA, I kind of was in shock by that. But then when Robert Woods went down, I think that kind of changed it. But until he learns the offensive playbook, since he only signed on late Monday, that until he gets used to that playbook, I don't think he'll see him be played much on offense. You might see maybe a jet sweep or two out of him this week, but you won't see any, 50-yard deep bombs to him yet.
Yeah, I just looked. OBJ on the year has 17 catches for 232 yards. I have him projected to finish the year with the Rams at 48 catches for 657 yards. So it's, I mean, those are some decent numbers. But let's look at Van Jefferson here. See what we have him at. Right now, he's at 27 catches, 433 yards, 3 touchdowns. And we have him projected to finish the year at 51 catches, 818 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So he's definitely getting more looks. And
Yeah,
who knows how Odell's going to act out there in LA.
Yeah, I mean he's in diva country out there, so
Yep.
I mean he's got the Hollywood lights going for him. So, but I actually picked up Van Jefferson this week, in fantasy, and I'm actually starting him over Deontay Harris in New Orleans because I just think Van Jefferson, his stats going forward could actually improve, and I think that he's worth it because he's had a few big games this year so far, touchdowns, and I think that you'll see him improve even more each week now that Robert Woods is gone, and he's going to be. I think he'll be a better number 2 than Odell will be for them until probably closer to the playoffs when Odell can start learning the playbook more and more.
Yep. All right. We have another guest coming on here. We have Jeremy from the Frankie from Flatbush channel. Jeremy, how are you today?
Good. What's up, guys? I was actually thinking about it this morning, just what you guys are talking about. I came in and I just got my Sunday snacks and food and everything taken care of. And I saw you talking about the Rams, and I was thinking the same exact thing. I agree 100% with what Sean was saying when I came in. I'm thinking to myself this week, because he's only been in the building for a few days, Van Jefferson for sure. But then after that, it gets tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Woods tore his ACL on Friday. That news seemed to come out of nowhere. Like it happened Friday, but did they wait until they confirmed it? Is that why they didn't release it till Saturday?
Yeah, they had him do all his X-rays and everything, and let some of the swelling go down. They said until they wanted to release it and make sure, because they weren't sure if it would just be a typical knee injury or leg injury that could keep him out for a few weeks before they confirmed that it was season ending and it was over.
Gotcha. So let's see here. Let's go back to the chat. We had Payo Time ask another question here. I'm calling it here. The Detroit Lions will get their W today. Goff is going to throw for over 260 yards, three touchdowns. Bold prediction. Sean, let's start with you. What do you think of Payo Time's prediction there.
I agree. Detroit Lions win today. But I'm going to upgrade that a little. Jared Goff throws for at least 350, I think.
Wow.
I think he's gonna have a field day. He proved that last week he had 45, 50 pass attempts. So he's only gonna upgrade that and keep doing it. I mean, the Steelers stopped the run. They're good at stopping the run, so DeAndre Swift's not gonna get many rushing yards, but he's gonna get that receiving yards, and you gotta start somewhere. So I think that they're backs against the wall. They got nothing to prove anymore. So why not go out there and just try to start being spoiler for people? And I mean, Detroit hasn't played bad all year. You think about it, they were within seconds of beating Baltimore, within seconds of beating Minnesota, and the only bad game they've really had, I could say bad, but it was really horrible, was the Eagles game where they lost 44-8. So up until that, I mean, they haven't played incredibly terrible. It's just they're not consistent.
Yes. Jeremy, what do you think of that prediction?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible because if anything, I think Chicago opened up some vulnerability, like they made it visible, like in the second half and the end of the game. They were showing the Steelers were certainly having trouble stopping the pass. There was obviously they made some adjustments, and Justin was able to take advantage of it as a rookie. And Goff, say what you will about him, some people don't think, have different opinions about him, but he's a veteran guy. He's been to a Super Bowl. They're definitely looking at what happened and what what Chicago was able to do the second half. They always look at tape and things like that. So I think it's very possible that Goff could have a big game, that he can open up against them. And plus, who knows what the psyche or the confidence level of the Steelers are going to be with Ben out.
Yeah. You also got to look at it as Mason Rudolph. He hasn't started since, I think last year he started a game. And he's without, I think Chase Claypool's out. He's without Juju Smith. So he's only got Deontay Johnson, Eric Ebron, and Pat Freiermuth, or whatever how you pronounce his name.
Freiermuth.
And Najee Harris. So I can honestly see Najee Harris is probably going to get most of the carries today, and they're going to probably not throw as much. So that defense is going to have to be locked down, and I don't see the Steelers defense being able to be locked down because they had trouble, like you said, stopping Chicago last week in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a question here from Woody the Badger. Pick 3, Amari Cooper, Scary Terry, Henderson, or Deontay Johnson, full PPR. Sean, what do you think?
I like Cooper, Terry, and Henderson. I like them identical in that order. It's hard to say with Deontay Johnson what you're going to see. With Mason Rudolph, he's proven either he's on or he's off completely. So I don't know if you can really risk a Week 10 fantasy lineup with putting him in. Where Henderson, you're going to see him get the ball against the Niners. And Scary Terry, the Bucs cornerbacks are really beat up and banged, and he proved last year in the wild card game that he's not afraid of the team. And Heineke's going to go out there, and he's going to go out there and be throwing that ball over the field and flinging it. So, and Amari Cooper against the Atlanta defense, like I said before, I think he's going to be in good shape to get a good matchup. I think you'll see him have a bigger game today than CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah. How about Jeremy? How about you?
I agree that Deontay is definitely the biggest question mark, biggest risk, riskiest guy to start. I actually, I'm curious about if you're really desperate, if you're in a tight league, who's the 4th wide receiver for Pittsburgh? Who's replacing Claypool?
And I couldn't tell you. Sean, can you look that up real quick?
I think it's James Washington.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying you start Washington over Johnson. I'm saying if you're in a league like that's that tight that you're looking and you're desperate for somebody, Washington probably takes more reps with Rudolph than than Deontay Johnson or anyone else that's going to be on the field. I'm just saying, they're probably like practice all week long. So sometimes you'll see a backup quarterback come in, and when you happen to have a wide receiver injured, also, I've seen that become like a come out party for that number 4 receiver, because the backup has the best timing with him and the best connection with him. So that might be a little sneaky pick. That's something that happens, that you see, that unexpected, that Washington actually gets has a good game because he has the quarterback he plays with every practice. But that's a long shot. You'd have to be in a very desperate situation for that, because I would still take Johnson over Washington.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I unless you're like a lockdown playoff seed, you have nothing to. You're only playing for seeding or something, and you want to take the risk. But if you're battling for that playoff spot, I think you're better off going with a guarantee over a questionable player, because I wouldn't want to trust someone that hasn't played all year and get thrown in. I mean, Detroit's not no LA Rams or Arizona Cardinals defense, but they're at least going to go out and they're going to battle hard, and they're not going to give up.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Jeremy.
You'd have to be very desperate, obviously. You'd have to be a situation where you're in a 12-team league and your 3-star, 2 of your guys are hurt, and you just have nothing. I was just, I'm just trying to make a cool prediction. Like, if this guy breaks out, people say, look, he said so. But it's definitely obviously rolling the dice, obviously, in a big way. That's why I said I would never start him over Johnson. And if there's anyone in the league out there that's more proven, obviously you go that way. But I've been in leagues and situations where I've had my team beat up, where I've had to do that, where I've had to make some crazy, random shots, darts and onto the dartboard.
Yeah, that happened to me a few weeks ago. It was a Bucks and Dolphins game, and I sat there and I'm like, all right, well, I had Dalvin Cook starting, James Robinson, DeAndre Hopkins, and I think I think it was AJ Brown I put in, and then I had Antonio Brown on the bench and Myles Gaskin. They combined for 6 touchdowns, like 400 yards, and I'm like, it's just my luck. It's like one of those, like, when you question yourself or you think about some of the people that could go off and all that, it's like you look at defenses and you're like, oh, well, this defense not allowing too much, and then it's like they always find a way to throw a little surprise in there, and they're like, well, watch this.
Yeah, it's easy to overthink things. Like, I do that a lot. I get in my head all the time about, like, the defense that they're playing, and I overthink it sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree with you, Jeremy. I do that too. Go ahead, Sean.
Unless you have a really bad bench and you have no one else to start, it's always one of those you question yourself until the time of game kickoff and everything.
Yeah.
Payo time comes in and says Sean is bolder than I am on the Lions, but today is their day. Right?
I think
anything's possible. Payo time also asks Titans or Broncos defense this week. Let's see. Tennessee is playing New Orleans, and Denver is playing Philadelphia. I actually have them, Tennessee, at 9.5 points this week, and Denver at 9.3. Neither one has a good fantasy matchup. They're both playing top 5 defenses fantasy-wise. So, Sean, which one do you think?
I'd probably go Titans. They're playing lights out. I mean, yeah, they're giving up points, but they're getting the turnovers, they're getting sacks, they're stopping the ball. So I would probably say the Titans over the Broncos, just because the Broncos, they came out last week and they played lights out against Dallas, but they're still Denver. I mean, their offense with Teddy Bridgewater, a turnover or two, and Philly could pounce on it and score quickly. So I just think that the Titans, you have a better chance at more of a not turnover ratio, but sack ratio and all that against Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill in New Orleans.
Yeah, agreed. Jeremy, your take on either of these two defenses?
Yeah, New Orleans is no longer the Drew Brees New Orleans Saints, and like we have to adjust to that and remember that. And so especially they don't even have Winston out there, although that wouldn't be such a bad thing because at least historically, he's thrown a lot of picks. Yeah, I think the Titans defense is gonna, like, they're really stepping up and gonna step up, with Henry hurt. On the offense, that I think that they feel that responsibility to do it, to get the ball and put their offense in better positions. I mean, I believe in that teams do rise to certain occasions. And I think that Tennessee is not going to be sleeping on this game. And, especially I think that sometimes if there's any positive to a key injury, it could be that sometimes the other players step up and play better. And I think that Tennessee has been looking pretty good lately, and will. I just agree. I think that they're going to cause. I think New Orleans is going to be prone to make some turnovers.
We have Wall coming in with a question: Pittman, Godwin, Ernest Johnson, full PPR, pick 2. Either one of you can jump in on that.
I think Pittman and Godwin Pittman's a must start. I mean, and Godwin, you can't knock on him. I mean, he plays with Tom Brady. I mean, the guy could go off for 4 touchdowns and 200 yards with ease. So I think no doubt you go with Pittman and Godwin.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. In my mind, it feels pretty easy. Like if I have Pittman, I'm always gonna. Because especially, I don't know about last week, but I mean, I saw he had those 2 big games in a row. He showed you what he might do for you. He might get like 8 receptions, 100+ yards, touchdown. You got to have Pittman in there. And then how do you go against, having one of Brady's receivers, especially with Gronk out?
Yeah. And Ernest Johnson, it's kind of what Patriots defense could lock down. So.
And they're going up against New England. Bill Belichick always knows how to take a weapon away, and I honestly think that's the weapon he's going to try to shut down today.
Yeah, because he's not worried about Baker throwing the ball.
Right.
Baker's not one of those. He's going to throw the ball and get you big passing games or anything. He's never been like that. I think last year against Dallas, they scored like 50 points or something, and they only had like 250 yards passing or something. So it's like, if they could stop the run, make Baker have to throw the ball, it could be a struggle for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, yep, agreed. Payo Time also asks about the Lions. He says, is Josh Reynolds someone you're watching for the rest of the season? I'll have to look. I'm not familiar with that name. I believe he was on the Rams, so maybe that's why he was asking. Sean, do you know anything about Josh Reynolds?
I don't know. It's you got Hawkinson, you got Raymond, you got St. Brown up there. So for Josh Reynolds, I don't know if the Lions are going to give someone a little more experience, the time over their rookies and youth to try to keep developing players. I think right now Detroit's more about trying to develop players, and unless they need to have an injury, I don't think you'll see anyone start besides their youth right now, just because they're 0-9.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna go out of their way right now to try to, guarantee a starter. They're gonna make sure that they have their team starting that is gonna go out there and either help their team or make their team worse.
Now I just did look him up. He's got 10 catches on the year for 90 yards. But now that he's on Detroit, I have him projected to finish the year at 43 catches and 383 yards. So probably not worth fantasy spot at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust them.
So let's jump into another game here. Guys, keep the questions coming in the chat. We'll answer any of your questions over going from game to game. But Jeremy, why I pull the schedule back up? Why don't you tell people how they can find you on YouTube and Twitter?
Sure. On YouTube, on a channel called Frankie from Flatbush, we do 2 shows a week, every Friday night and every Sunday night. Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern, Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern, so later on today. Frank He also puts up a lot of videos, great content, a lot of numbers. Now you're starting to see me do videos. I'm putting up videos on his channel. A lot of that is making fun of Frankie. So once you get to know Frankie, you'll have fun watching me make fun of him. So that's a fun time. And then, Green Bean Jets fan is Green Bean is a channel that you'll see me pop in occasionally. I'm usually backstage. I work with him on his team, kind of like backing up and supporting him. And a lot of times I end up on the show, so you never know when you'll see me there. But I'm a big supporter of Green Bean, and I always, push and promote him.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched yesterday's episode. You guys do a show called Jets Worldwide, where you have different Jet fans on from around the world. Did you have somebody on yesterday? I didn't get to see.
Yes, yesterday. We're on 11 a.m. Eastern, really, so the Europeans can, not have to be in the middle of the night to see a live stream, that they could get to see something all time for them. But next week we have a guy from New Zealand. I think it's Bismo. You probably know him from the Chats and Green Bean channel. And he's going to be basically, what we do is we talk about how these guys internationally from all over the world ended up becoming Jets fans. So we kind of hear their Jets story and how they became Jet fans. And a lot of people have been enjoying those stories and wondering, like, how does a guy in New Zealand become a Jets fan?
Yeah, yep. I know last week he had his Aunt Gina on, who actually turned him into a Jets fan when he was little. So that was a great story to hear how she was a Jets fan and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jumping back into the games here, we had one of the late games is Seattle going into Green Bay. Sean texted me this morning saying there was already a couple inches of snow on the ground in Green Bay and that it was supposed to continue snowing. What's your guys' take on this? Rodgers and Russell Wilson are back this week. Sean, go ahead.
I don't see Russell Wilson struggling, and Aaron Rodgers loves his snow games. He's played in Green Bay his whole career. I just don't see Russell Wilson struggling for the fact that he played in Wisconsin, I believe. So
NC State.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did. So,
Wilson went to Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that he could get used to it with the cold, but I think Chris Carson's coming back for the Seahawks as well. So I think you could see the chance of running the ball a lot, but you also have that risk of high turnover ratio with the snow. Unless they're shoveling the field off a lot and always keeping the field clean, that if the snow accumulates a lot on the field in between, that you could see some turnovers coming from the ball being slippery, or you might see minimum throwing if it's a whiteout. They didn't say how much snow, how bad the snow could come, but they said during the game it could be 2 to 4 inches.
So wow. Just to understand why I was confused and I don't go crazy, Russell Wilson started at NC State, and then before his senior year, he transferred to Wisconsin, so he had 1 season there. Just because I was like, wait a second, my brother went to NC State, and my parents lived there, and Russell Wilson went to NC State, but he went to both. Yeah, I think the so I'm thinking it from this perspective. I think that, and I said it the other day on one of my broadcasts. When someone asked about that game, I said the best. I think it's a Frankie. I said the best thing, and I may have said it to you. The best thing that could happen on Thursday for Green Bay is that there's snow and there's cold, and it's and not so much because I don't think Russell Wilson can perform in that weather, but more because of his injury. An injury to his finger, if the ball is more slippery, if the ball is frozen, that might cause, that might be even trickier to come back from that kind of injury. It's also been a longer time since he's played in real action. So I'm not saying he's going to bust because it's Russell Wilson. And I think he's one of the, of the last decade, one of the premier, amazing, great quarterbacks. So I'd never bet against Russell Wilson. If I had to choose between the two, I would say the weather and what they're both coming back from, the advantage goes to Aaron Rodgers because he hasn't been his way along. And a finger injury scares me, like surgery on your hands and then cold, wet weather. It's more concerning to me than an Aaron Rodgers who's perfectly healthy right now.
Right. So we have payo time coming in again with, do you guys think Mike White can help the Jets beat the Bills today? Jeremy, go ahead and take that one first.
I think there's a big difference. So people don't put me in a mental asylum. There's a big difference between the words can and will. I definitely don't think he will help the Jets beat the Bills today because I don't think the Jets will beat the Bills today. Can he? I think he's proven that he's capable of running the offense really well. So is it possible? Yeah, if the Jets for some reason won this game, it would probably be one of the major factors would be that Mike Wilson played well. He would have to. So can he? Yeah, I mean he can. It's possible. He's done nothing but good things, in the 5 last quarters he's played. But I don't think he will. I think that the Bills are going to shut the Jets down. I think they're going to come. That defense is just insane, and I just don't think the Jets with their youth and inexperience are going to be able to overcome it.
Yeah, and after last week losing to Jacksonville, now it wasn't the defense's fault. The offense couldn't do anything last week, so I think they'll get back on track. Especially, I don't know what the Jets were doing on Thursday against Indianapolis. Their defense didn't show up, so that's honestly at the beginning of the year. That's where I expected the Jets' troubles to be, was on the defensive side of the ball. Where the season started, the defense was good and the offense was bad. Now the offense is getting 500 yards a game, and the defense can't stop anybody.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it's kind of will he help them win sort of thing. But I mean, if the Jets defense can do what the Jaguars, kind of like we said earlier with tape, with the Bears and Steelers game for the Lions and Steelers game today, if you watch tape, how to get the Josh Allen sort of thing, if the Jets can do that, if you get a turnover or two and you can at least put 7 on the board or even put up 10 points, the Jaguars proved last week you don't even have to score a touchdown. You guys can just kick field goals and you can win the game just if you can stop them from scoring a touchdown. So I think that there's that aspect that you have to look at it as if the defense can get to him and get a sack or two and get a forced fumble or even an interception, then you can turn it into points. I think you get Josh Allen out of sorts and you start to, I wouldn't say get to him or annoy him, but you start pestering him and even hitting him, putting him on the ground. It's going to make him start thinking is something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? After last week and losing to Jacksonville, he's going to start having that mental side of the game where he's going to be starting to question himself if he's starting to turn the ball over more.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how the Jets come out. Now, anytime Mike White has been in the game, he's been able to move the ball. Now, they haven't played anybody like Buffalo's defense when he was in, but they've been able to move the ball. So we'll see what happens. I think it was right not starting Zach Wilson this week for the Jets. I'll give him. The time frame was 2 to 4 weeks, so this gives him a little bit more extra time to sit and learn. And but yeah, we got payo time coming in with another question here. Am I smart to start Javonte Williams over Tony Pollard today? Sean, what's your take on that one?
Yeah. Unless Zeke goes down injured, at least Javonte Williams, you kind of have more of he's going to get the ball more, where Tony Pollard is behind Zeke. And if Zeke's feeling it and he's on the move and he's rolling today, you're not going to take the ball out of his hands. So I think you have a better chance of Williams getting a score and a few catches over Pollard, who could get a score, because when they're in the red zone, they're going to hand that ball to Zeke 9 chances out of 10, or they're going to try to throw the ball into one of their big guys with CeeDee Lamb or Cooper.
Now, because of Zeke being in Dallas, I just looked. Fantasy matchup-wise, they're good matchups for both running backs. But, yeah, it's just when it comes to Pollard, it's just carries and, like you said, Zeke getting the ball more.
Yeah, he's more of he takes a few reps off of Zeke when Zeke has to get out for a player or two. So I just think that you have a better chance of Pollard. not having as many touches, where Williams is going to get those touches and score possibly.
Jeremy, you have a take on either running back there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sean's 100% correct. It's 100% about who's going to get the touches, and I think after Dallas got embarrassed last week, I think there's a good chance that Prescott and Zeke are going to step up, and Zeke is going to have a big game, and there's not going to be many opportunities for Pollard. I mean, I see Dallas I see their veteran guys, their star players are going to step up and correct last week because they were embarrassed, and Pollard is just too risky. I mean, he might end up with 4 carries.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the kid that has that chance to get the ball at the 2-yard line and be the guy that's gonna pound it in. I mean, it's just a better shot.
Yeah, it's hard to, like you said, it's risky putting Pollard in there right now, where unless Zeke has a question mark beside him or doubtful, or he gets injured in the first or second quarter, you're not really going to see him get many touches. He might get maybe like 10 a game, 10 to 12.
So thanks. Let's see. We got Brendan here. Need 2 running backs between Williams, McKissick, or Ingram. First off, Brandon, is it PPR? Is it a PPR league? But Sean, what do you think? If it's not PPR, let's start with that. And who do you think out of the 3?
If it's not PPR, I think Ingram and Williams. Even if it is PPR, I kind of like both of them. McKissick is a backer to Gibson in Washington. So, and going against Tampa Bay, they don't really give up many rushing yards. So I would think that Ingram's going to get you a few catches out of the backfield, run the ball a few times, and Williams is going to get you a few carries as well and a few receptions. And so I think those are your best options. Williams is playing against Oakland, so I think you have a better chance of them getting more points, where McKissick is more of the third down back or second and long, kind of get the field shorter sort of thing, maybe to score. So that's my take on those. I would take those 2 with Ingram and Williams.
Yeah, and I agree with you. He did say it's PPR, but I'd still agree. I do have them both projected higher than McKissick, so definitely get them in. Guys, I wanted to talk about Thursday night when we streamed. We all talked about the Ravens beating the Dolphins, and the Dolphins came out and absolutely destroyed the Ravens. What do you think they did to do that? And is it something that other teams can look at and try to do to Baltimore also?
Yeah, just blitz 8 and you'll stop anybody. I mean, if you can blitz 8 and get Lamar to start falling backwards or running around behind the line of scrimmage and he has nowhere to run forward, I think they held him to 34 yards of rushing yards. He's averaging 70 a game, so you cut that in half, and receiving or throwing wise, he was averaging, I think, almost 300, and he only had like 150 or close to 200. So most of his yards came in garbage time there late in the fourth quarter when they were still trailing by 10 points and they were just getting down the field to try to score quick. So if you blitz enough or you have guys standing on the edge and you watch the run, he's not going to have anywhere to run, and you're going to get a sack. You're going to get a turnover or 2 maybe. So I just think that it was smart on Miami's part. They did something that not many teams can do, and they exposed Baltimore for what Lamar Jackson can and can't do. I mean, if he can't run the ball and he has to throw the ball more times, he's not going to have that clean pocket like he's used to, and he can throw the ball where he needs to. When he was rushed, he was incomplete, aggravation on the sideline. When he had the time in the pocket, when they weren't blitzing, he was throwing it 15, 20 yards down the field to Andrews or Brown or Bateman or Doomerville even. So I just think that if you blitz enough, you kind of can prevent a lot.
Yeah, and I wasn't, Jeremy, before I let you give your take, I wasn't, now that I look at it, I'm not all that surprised. Coming into the season, a lot of people talked about Miami being a playoff team. Now they got off to a really bad start and then didn't look good at all. But, I mean, they're on paper, they're not a bad team. And Thursday night, they showed they're not as bad as their record says they are.
Yeah, I think they came out with a brilliant game plan because it was a surprise. I think that they confused Lamar. I don't think that, and the Ravens in general, I don't think for that. I think that you have to do that very effectively, and it's perfectly true. I mean, the great thing about the blitz is that you're also preventing Lamar from running. You're taking away that game. And you're giving him less time to process, right? And to go through his progressions. I think the risk part about it, obviously, why doesn't everything do that? Is because if a quarterback, it depends on what the offensive scheme is and what they're ready for. They can burn you because of that. So I would, if I was a coach going into that game, I'd probably want Lamar I'd want to prove it to start the game and put them in a prove it situation. I would blitz the hell out of them. And let me see if you are playing the chess game the right way. Like, did you prepare tons of screen passes, quick slants? Did you make adjustments to your game plan to come at you like that? Let's see if you did, because that's the answer to the blitz, right? Screen passes and do quick slants and get the ball out of his hands faster. Anytime it's you see someone like that struggle, that's so good and so hard to stop. It's kind of like hard to justify not, kind of like we're going to go with that too until they. It's the same thing if I was playing against the Jets. I'd screen pass the hell like crazy against them until they prove that they can stop it. So I think you're going to see that, but I think that Baltimore has a very good coach. So there's a chance that they'll be a little bit more prepared for it and have an answer for it. But I would definitely make them prove it.
Yeah, I it's just when you can expose an offense like that, kind of like Tennessee did against the Rams on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football last week. They exposed them early enough and made Stafford have to throw the ball fast. And what happened was a turnover, and it turns into more points real quick for the Titans. And when you put a team down multiple scores, it changes the whole game plan of what they came in with, or where they want to we're going to run the ball this many times and then we're going to throw here and there. Then that has to change because they have to throw the ball here or double the times. And if a team's not in their game plan to throw the ball multiple scores down, you're going to see more turnovers and you're going to see more mistakes made. And I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah, as we're getting close to kickoff here, Sean, do you have any bold predictions this week?
No, I don't really have any bold predictions. I just think that there's so many weird matchups today that you could see some awkward scores or something. But I just think that for the 1 o'clock games, I think the highest scoring game is going to come out is going to be the Dallas and Atlanta game. I just think that you're going to see a high scoring game there. But the only things I really think this week that you're going to see is I think the upsets of the week. I think you got to watch Detroit, and I think Las Vegas tonight. I think those are your two upsets for today. If Jacksonville can go out and play like they played last week against Indianapolis, you could even see Indianapolis fall. And Jacksonville's another Detroit. You just got to play spoiler, and you could sit here and you could determine people's playoffs or being seeds or anything. And I mean, Jacksonville wins against Indianapolis today, and Tennessee wins. It kind of puts a damper on the AFC South. So you could see teams start deciding playoffs and who's making it, who's not, and even divisions start wrapping up divisions early enough that who's got the better teams and everything.
I think if that happened, if Indianapolis lost and Tennessee won today, they'd have a 4-game lead. I think with only about seven games or so left to go. I think, right?
Yeah. And to think about it, they're without the guy called Derrick Henry, who's the reigning MVP of the league, and he he's out until I think week 16 to 18, they said possibly. So, and if they lock up division early enough, week 15, 16, they could say, all right, well, we don't need him till playoffs. Let's send him out till we need him.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. We do have another bars in the tuck. Starting a banged up Zeke, and my league gives 1 point per 10 return yards. Should I start Pollard with him or Williams and its expected workload with Gore lurking? Full PPR. League gives 1 point for every 10 return yards. I honestly don't know because I don't know who any of the returners in the NFL are. Sean, do you know?
Pollard's not a returner from, I believe CeeDee Lamb is their kick and punt returner in Dallas. So I would probably say Zeke, and I would still work with Williams just for the fact that Williams knows the offense better than Gore, and Gore kind of is, if he's not feeling good or not playing good, they're not going to give him the touches where they're going to give him to somebody that's more trustworthy and has been in the offense long enough, especially around Andy Reid. He'll go with the running back by committee to start, but if someone's got the feel going and they're playing great, he's not going to stop someone from playing great. So I just think Darrell Williams and Zeke, just because Pollard isn't. Oh, he says Pollard returns the kicks.
Bars is saying Pollard returns kicks, and CD returns punts. So
then, I mean, I would probably go with, you got to go with both those combinations. But if Atlanta kicks the ball out of the back of the end zone every time, you're kind of hoping that Pollard gets a good rush return every time. So, and Atlanta does have one of the best kickers with Young Hoku. So that's a risk because if they're both having a bad game, if Dallas is off, it could be no points for you there almost. So
yeah, agreed. We have Shamar coming in with Marvin Jones, Tim Patrick, or Gage at flex. It is a full PPR. I asked him that in the chat, and he said it was full PPR. Sean, it looks like he's only getting to pick one of those guys. Which one are you going with?
Marvin Jones. He's the number one now in Jacksonville with DJ Chark out. Tim Patrick, he's questionable last I saw, and he's still the number 2 there to Cortland Sutton. So, and Russell Gage, Atlanta's iffy on Matt Ryan's iffy on who he throws to there. I mean, their 4th stringer last week had 2 touchdowns, and the week prior it could have been Gage, and the week prior could have been someone else, where it could have been Patterson. So they have so many options there. Kyle Pitts, Gage. They had Ridley when he's playing and everything. So you got Patterson, Davis. You got the backup. I think it's Hurst to Pitts. So I would say probably to go with the safe side is Marvin Jones, just because he's got more reliability coming with his name.
Well, I just looked at the numbers. I do have Jones projected at 12.6 points, Gage at 10.9, and Patrick at 9.7 in PPR leagues. So, yeah, definitely Jones this week. Guys, we're closing in on kickoff here. Make sure, if you're watching, make sure you get your fantasy lineups in. If you have any questions, hurry up and put them in the chat here. We have 1 o'clock games. Nick coming in with a question. J.D. McKissick or Cole Beasley PPR? I thought Beasley was banged up last week. I don't know if that's still true. Sean, do you know if I would start Beasley personally? I haven't looked at the stats.
I would start Beasley. Last I saw, I'm looking right now, that he is full to go, I believe. Yeah, he doesn't have any mark on him, so I would say probably best bet go with Beasley regardless. If you're not Yeah, he doesn't have anything on him. He had a rib injury. His ribs were bruised, so with just a rib injury, I would still trust him playing and having a good enough game.
And in PPR, I do have Beasley at 13 and Mckissick at 9.9. So he's definitely going to be part of that offense today. Jeremy, any other takes on that question?
Yeah, I mean the Jets. I think Beasley could put up a really big game, especially if the linebackers end up responsible for him on plays. So because the Jets linebackers aren't good, I would like Beasley in that situation just for point potential. Like I think he has the higher ceiling.
Yep. We have Shamar. Oh, that was my comment. I don't want that one up there. I want Greg coming in with start 1 PPR, Cole Beasley, Judy, or Devonta Smith. Sean, when I look at the projections, what's your early take on that one?
Devonta Smith. He's by far the number one there, and Philly, him and Hurts have that connection. His ceiling's high. If he scores, you're pretty much good. But if he has a down game like he's had once or twice this year, you might not get many targets or many points out of him, especially if they're not able to throw the ball enough. But I think that he's good for those short routes, and he's good with his speed that he'll be able to get upfield and get you a few yards after catch even. Beasley, I mean, he is the number two or number three. It's hard to say what he is to Diggs and Emmanuel Sanders there. And Judy's still coming back from injury. It's hard to say how much workload they're going to give him. If they're able to run the ball with Gordon and Williams, they're not going to be throwing the ball as much. And if they are throwing the ball, you got Patrick and you got Sutton in front of him. So I would go with Smith as a safe bet, especially if the Broncos stop the run with one of the 6 running backs that Philly rolls with. You could see Smith have a good game.
Yeah, we got questions coming in fast here. We have Dawson Knox or Kyle Pitts.
Pitts.
Kyle Pitts.
I agree.
Yeah, that's Kyle Pitts is turning into a beast right now. I mean, I'm glad I drafted him in my rookie draft when I had him first pick overall. I said there was no doubter.
We got Freiermuth with Rudolph or start Higbee on Monday night.
Higbee. With Robert Woods out, I would trust Higbee more, especially with OBJ. They're going to be using the tight end position a little bit more, I think, this week with the Niners, because they're going to double team Cooper Kupp, so you're going to have everyone else kind of peeling off of that. So I would go with Higbee over Freiermuth with Rudolph this week. It's hard to say with Rudolph what you're going to see. You could see 100-yard passing, you could see 400-yard passing. There's no real answer to what kind of game plan they're going to throw their way.
I'm going to start charging you $1 every time you say Freiermuth's name wrong.
Oh, he should probably change his name. I'm just going to call him Pat.
We know. Let's see here. Roasters. We know Pitts is a beast.
It's as bad as whatchamacallit on the Broncos. That one tight end on the Broncos. His last name is so awkward. It's like we can't pronounce it.
Pittman or Diggs? PPR.
Pittman.
You can't say Diggs without putting him in a lineup. You can't bench Diggs.
The only reason I'm saying that as a Jets fan. We've been very good at stopping, because Bryce Hall's going to be covering him. We've been very good at containing wide receivers, but that's overthinking, right? That was what I was talking about before. That's completely overthinking. To put a guy like Diggs on the bench is completely overthinking it.
Right.
Go ahead, Sean. They're both going to have good games. It's just which one scores a touchdown or scores 2 or scores 3. I can't sit here and say go against Stephon Diggs. I mean, it's the guy's automatic almost. He's going to get you at least 4 to 5 catches a week without a doubt. it just comes down to him getting a touchdown. They have so many weapons up there in Buffalo that so many people could get a touchdown. So it's kind of a toss-up. If you have, depending on who you have as the rest of your roster, you got to go with, I would say Diggs is better overall. But if you're looking at someone that could get you a bigger yardage game, I'd say Pittman.
Yeah, guys, it's getting to be kickoff. So I'm going to wrap this stream up. I'm actually going to do a little live stream here during the Jets-Bills game. I want to try out some new software and check some things out. So it'll be on our YouTube channel here, even though it's different software that we're using. So guys, enjoy the games today. Sean, any final words?
No, there's going to be a lot of good games today, I think. I think you're going to see a lot of close matchups, and I just think that if you have a lot of 4 o'clock games and 8 o'clock and tomorrow night games, if you have to keep an eye on questionable players. I know Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are doubtful almost. So the 4 o'clock games, you kind of got to watch them and see who all is playing, who isn't playing, who's injured, not injured, sort of thing. So just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy, any final words?
Just enjoy the games. I'm looking forward to a Jets game and then a lot of fun games this afternoon. I can't wait. I think
with that snow, I'm actually really looking forward to Seattle and Green Bay.
Well, yeah, and the Vikings Chargers is a great matchup too. So that's a fun matchup. Even
nobody cares. Nobody cares about the Vikings.
Nope. They're trash.
So guys, enjoy your Sunday. Let's go Jets, and we'll see you Thursday night at 7 o'clock
see you
for
Thursday.
Week 11.
Adios.